I never got to know Leslie Howard privately, that I worked with my first leading man in Intermezzo. There are many like that.
Decades after her death, the world thought it knew Ingrid Bergman, the saint, the star, the survivor. But in the pages of her own autobiography, a different story was waiting. Not a single shocking line, but something far more powerful. The unvarnished truth. It was a confession of a life lived with a passion so intense, Hollywood tried to erase it. This is the story of the scandal that exiled an icon and the defiant honesty that rewrote her legacy forever. Ingrid Bergman was more than a movie star. She was a symbol of the golden age of cinema. Her career spanned 5 decades, earning her 3 Academy Awards, 4 Golden Globes, and a Tony. But to the public in the 1940s, she was the embodiment of purity and grace. Her roles in films like Gaslight, The Bells of St. Mary's, and the immortal Casablanca cemented an image of wholesome perfection. She played a nun, a saint, and the impossibly noble Ilse Lund. The world didn't just admire her, they revered her, confusing the characters on screen with the woman herself. She was placed on a pedestal of moral perfection. As one biographer noted, Bergman's screen persona placed her above all that. But that carefully built image was a fragile facade. And when it finally shattered, it triggered an earthquake that shook Hollywood to its core and got her condemned on the floor of the United States Senate. To understand the sheer scale of the scandal that would define her life, you have to appreciate the celestial heights from which Ingrid Bergman fell. When she arrived in Hollywood from Sweden in 1939, producer David O. Selznick wanted to change everything: her teeth, her eyebrows, even her name. She flatly refused. That natural, untouched beauty became her trademark, a refreshing contrast to the manufactured glamour of other stars. It was this authenticity that made audiences fall in love with her. She seemed down to earth, a devoted wife to her Swedish husband, Dr. Petter Lindström, and a loving mother to their daughter, Pia. This St. Ingrid image was meticulously crafted by the studios, and for a while she played the part. Her performance in Casablanca was the epitome of romantic nobility. In For Whom the Bell Tolls, she was the innocent Maria, earning an Oscar nomination. Then came Gaslight, which won her first Academy Award, followed by The Bells of St. Mary's, where she played a compassionate nun. The peak of this saintly image came in 1948 with her role as Joan of Arc, a part that earned her another Oscar nomination. People saw a living saint. She later reflected on this, saying, "People saw me in Joan of Arc and declared me a saint. I'm not. I'm just a woman, another human being." But behind the scenes, her life was anything but saintly. Her marriage to Petter Lindström, a man she married at 21, was strained. Lindström, a dentist who later became a neurosurgeon, was a controlling figure, and Bergman, whose passion was her work, felt stifled. While the public saw a perfect family, Bergman was growing deeply unhappy in a lackluster marriage, desperate for an escape. The saint was a woman with desires and secrets the silver screen could never show, and she was no stranger to indulging those passions. Hollywood's saintly good girl was, in reality, a woman of passionate appetites that defied the rigid moral codes of the era. The scandal that eventually exiled her wasn't a one-off mistake. It was merely the one that finally caught fire and burned her public image to the ground. Long before Roberto Rossellini, there were others. During the filming of For Whom the Bell Tolls, it's widely rumored that she and her co-star, Gary Cooper, engaged in an affair. Cooper was married, as was Bergman, but their on-screen chemistry was electric. According to some accounts, Cooper fell deeply for her, and he was left heartbroken when the affair ended as soon as the film wrapped. Then there was the celebrated war photographer Robert Capa, whom she met in Paris in 1945. A reckless, torrid fling began, and Bergman, deeply unhappy in her marriage, fell hard. Another secret, kept private for decades, was an affair with Gregory Peck during the filming of Alfred Hitchcock's Spellbound. It wasn't until 5 years after Bergman's death that Peck finally confessed, telling an interviewer, "All I can say is that I had a real love for her. I was young. She was young. We were involved for weeks in close and intense work." These affairs remained backstage whispers, hidden from an adoring public that continued to see the perfect wife and mother. They were completely unaware that the woman they idolized was living a secret life, driven by a passion her marriage could not contain. All it would take was one spark to ignite the powder keg. That spark came in the form of a letter. By the late 1940s, Bergman was tired of Hollywood, feeling typecast and uninspired. Then she saw 2 films by the Italian neo-realist director Roberto Rossellini, Rome, Open City, and Paysan. She was captivated by their artistry and emotional rawness. On an impulse, she wrote him a letter that would alter the course of her life. In 1949, she sent a note that read, "Dear Mr. Rossellini, I saw your films and enjoyed them very much. If you need a Swedish actress who speaks English very well, and who in Italian knows only ti amo, I am ready to come and make a film with you." Rossellini, a renowned womanizer himself, was thrilled. He cabled her back, saying it was his dream to work with her. He had been planning to cast his then-lover, Anna Magnani, in his next film, Stromboli. But after Bergman's letter, he rewrote the script for his new muse and unceremoniously dropped Magnani. Bergman prepared to leave for Italy, telling her husband Peter and daughter Pia it was just another movie. They were tragically mistaken. When Bergman left for the island of Stromboli, she wasn't just leaving Hollywood. She was abandoning her family and the carefully constructed image of a saint. On that barren, volcanic island, the professional collaboration between Bergman and Rossellini quickly exploded into a passionate, all-consuming affair. Rossellini was vibrant and free, a stark contrast to her controlling husband. And Bergman fell deeply in love. The world's most beloved actress was having an affair with her married director. And then came the ultimate sin in the eyes of 1950s America. She became pregnant. The news broke like a thunderclap, and Ingrid Bergman became the subject of the biggest scandal of the century. The public felt utterly betrayed. The backlash was biblical in its fury. In an era of post-war purity culture, Bergman's actions were seen as a direct assault on marriage and decency. The public's love turned to hate overnight. Mailbags filled with letters branding her a dirty whore and common adulteress. The condemnation reached the highest levels of power. On March 14, 1950, Senator Edwin C. Johnson of Colorado took to the floor of the U.S. Senate to deliver a blistering attack. He branded Bergman a powerful influence for evil and one of Hollywood's apostles of degradation. In a xenophobic tirade, he declared that under the law, no alien guilty of turpitude can set foot on American soil again. He even introduced a bill to license actors based on their morality. The bill didn't pass, but the message was clear. Senator Johnson thundered, "Out of the ashes of Ingrid Bergman will grow a better Hollywood." The scandal devastated her career. Her film, Stromboli, was met with boycotts from religious groups, who charged that it tended to glorify adultery. Theaters were asked to ban all of her films. She was effectively blackballed by Hollywood, exiled from the country that had once worshipped her. Bergman had left her husband and, most painfully, her young daughter, Pia. Petter Lindstrom sued for desertion and waged a bitter custody battle, ensuring that Pia would not be reunited with her mother for 7 long years. The scandal had not only cost Bergman her career and reputation, it had cost her her child. Humiliated and condemned, she remained in Europe, a pariah in the land that had made her a star. For years, Ingrid Bergman endured the public crucifixion with quiet dignity. But in 1980, Just 2 years before her death, she finally told her own story. Co-written with Alan Burgess, her autobiography, My Story, was a stunning act of reclamation. It wasn't a polished celebrity memoir. It was candid, courageous, and more revealing than anyone expected. In its pages, Bergman laid bare her triumphs, her heartbreaks, and the unflinching spirit that defined her. She gave the world something it had never seen from a star of her caliber: brutal honesty. She didn't apologize for the Rossellini affair. She didn't express regret for following her heart. Instead, she presented her life with startling clarity, acknowledging the pain her choices caused, but refusing to be shamed for them. The book revealed a woman who was neither a saint nor a sinner, but a complex human being. She wrote frankly about her failing marriage to Petter Lindström, making it clear she had asked for a divorce long before meeting Rossellini. She described her passionate, chaotic life with Rossellini, marked by both creative fervor and intense struggle. The real confession of her memoir wasn't a single lurid detail, but the entire unapologetic act of telling her truth. It was the defiant statement of a woman owning her desires, her mistakes, and her own narrative. The book was the final word. From the real Ingrid Bergman, a woman of immense passion, humor, and resilience, who was no longer afraid to say exactly what she saw and felt. It was a final, brilliant wink from a woman who had lived life on her own terms, a life far more scandalous and far more human than her films ever let on. The story of Ingrid Bergman is a powerful reminder that the truth is always more complex than the image. If you're finding this journey into the hidden history of Hollywood compelling, take a moment to subscribe and hit that notification bell. We're constantly unearthing the secrets and scandals that the studios tried to bury, and you won't want to miss what we uncover next. Bergman's new life in Italy with Roberto Rossellini was no fairy tale. She had traded the gilded cage of Hollywood for a different kind of prison, one built of public condemnation and personal chaos. They married on May 24, 1950, after her messy public divorce from Petter Lindström. Their union produced 2 more children, twin daughters Isabella and Isotta, born in 1952. Professionally, their collaboration was intense. They made a series of films together, including Europa 51 and Journey to Italy. These films were artistically ambitious, but in America, they were box office bombs. Personally, their life was tumultuous. Rossellini proved to be a possessive and controlling husband, insisting for years that only he could direct her. The final blow came when he had an affair while filming in India. The marriage that had started with such earth-shattering passion ended in heartbreak and divorce in 1957. Throughout this exile, the separation from her daughter Pia remained a source of deep pain. The custody battle was brutal, and for 7 years she was mostly absent from her eldest daughter's life. In her memoir, Bergman wrote about the difficulty of this time and the impossible choices she faced, torn between her all-consuming passion for her art and her role as a mother. The years in Italy were a crucible, a period of creative exploration and personal suffering that would fundamentally reshape her. After 7 years in the wilderness, Hollywood decided it was ready to forgive. In 1956, as her marriage to Rossellini was crumbling, 20th Century Fox offered Bergman the lead role in Anastasia. It was the perfect comeback, a character shrouded in mystery and nobility, reminiscent of the roles that had made her a star. Bergman's performance was a sensation. It was a triumphant return that culminated in her winning her 2nd Academy Award for Best Actress. Still wary of the American public, she didn't attend the ceremony. Her old friend Cary Grant accepted the award on her behalf. The message was clear. Ingrid Bergman was back. She had gone, in her own famous words, from saint to whore, and back to saint again, all in one lifetime. The Oscar marked a turning point, Her career was reborn, but the official apology for her public shaming took much longer. In 1972, 22 years after Senator Johnson's attack, Senator Charles H. Percy of Illinois formally entered an apology into the Congressional Record. He stated that Bergman had been the victim of a bitter attack and that millions of Americans wished to express their regret for the personal and professional persecution she had suffered. In her later years, Bergman's career flourished. She won a third Oscar for 1974's Murder on the Orient Express. Her final film role was in Ingmar Bergman's 1978 drama, Autumn Sonata, which earned her a seventh Oscar nomination. Her last acting role was a powerhouse performance as Israeli Prime Minister Golda Meir in the 1982 miniseries A Woman Called Golda, for which she posthumously won an Emmy. She hadn't just survived, she had triumphed. Ingrid Bergman passed away on her 67th birthday, August 29, 1982, after a long battle with cancer. She left behind a legacy far more complex than the saintly image Hollywood created. The publication of My Story was her final, brilliant act of self-definition, a testament to a woman who lived with a courage and honesty that were decades ahead of her time. The scandal that nearly destroyed her now serves as a powerful example of the punishing double standards placed on women. While male stars of her era had numerous affairs with no career repercussions, Bergman was publicly crucified. But she refused to be a victim. She made no apologies for her choices, a stance that makes her a feminist figure in hindsight. As director, Jean Renoir once said of her, she preferred a scandal to a lie. Her life was a testament to being true to oneself. She was not the saint Hollywood wanted her to be. She was something far more interesting, far more powerful, and far more real. She was Ingrid Bergman. What do you think of Ingrid Bergman's incredible life? Does knowing the true story of her confession change how you see her? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you believe history is written by those who dare to tell their own story, make sure you're subscribed for more unforgettable tales from Hollywood's golden age. Thanks for watching.